Hello, everybody, and welcome to Moving to Canada as a video on the new Ontario Workforce Priority Stream, Ontario's new PNP stream that just opened this week on Tuesday, August 4th. I'm Dane. I'm joined by our in-house immigration consultant, Rebecca, and we are going to talk you through what this immigration stream is, who's eligible, and how you can get started. Rebecca, thanks so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. Thank you, Dane. How are you?
I'm good. I'm here, and I'm ready to talk about Ontario.
Perfect.
So a quick overview
Ontario. I have actually been really excited about Ontario.
Yes, and it's a very popular immigration destination. It's the most popular destination for newcomers to Canada. The PNP has the most spaces of any PNP in Canada, so it's an important pathway. And this change, this new stream, it's pretty big news. So the big news here is that Ontario has replaced 8 previous OINP streams with the new Ontario Workforce Priority Stream, and they opened the new Expression of Interest portal to EOIs this week on August 4th. The biggest message for most of our viewers, this is a job offer-based PNP stream. For almost everybody, it requires a job offer. If you don't have a qualifying Ontario job offer, you generally can't use this stream. The one exception is physicians, self-employed physicians in Ontario. We'll talk a little bit about that. The points grid for this program is now public, but we have no news on when the first invitations will be issued. So that's a quick overview here. Rebecca, let's dive a little deeper for our listeners who are interested in learning more. What is, on a broad level, the Ontario Workforce Priority Stream?
Yeah, so like you said, Dane, it kind of condenses the 8 existing or past streams that they had into now 1 stream and 3 pathways. So there's different eligibility criteria for tiers 0 to 3 workers, and then another one for tiers 4 and 5, and then another eligibility criteria for self-employed physicians. Interestingly, though, Ontario used to focus on or have streams specifically targeting express entry candidates. They no longer have those streams. I think that's a really interesting move. We didn't see any activity in those streams for the last few years, so it kind of makes sense. But that's an interesting takeaway, that they've kind of separated themselves a little bit from the express entry system. Like you said, now you have to have a job offer. Unless you're a self-employed physician, you have to have a job offer. Without a job offer, you don't consider Ontario. Easy peasy. Right. There are, within each stream, so let's say the tier 0 to 3 workers, there's various ways that you can qualify. So you even need to have 6 months of consecutive work experience in the same occupation. If you're a recent Ontario graduate, that needs to be 3 consecutive months. Likewise, for Ontario, for the tier 4 and 5 category, you have to have at least 9 months of consecutive work experience. So there is work experience elements tied into the eligibility as well. Again, self-employed physicians do not need to have a job offer, but they do need to be members of good standing of the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario. So what I like about this update is it's really streamlined eligibility for a lot of candidates. It's very easy to work out whether you're qualified, whereas before you had to kind of go through 8 different streams. Now you can kind of easily see your eligibility. So I think that's a real advantage, and good job, Ontario, for that one.
It's much easier to understand, and it is nice that essentially, most of the workers in Ontario, temporary workers, regardless of the tier level of their position, should be eligible to apply to this, submit an EOI at least, after they meet the minimum work experience requirements. Now, the question is whether or not they'll be selected. Which brings us to, that important question, who is likely to be competitive in the new Ontario Workforce Priority Stream? I think it's important to note here, I'm going to ask you for your thoughts, Rebecca, but it's important to note that we are not entirely sure because we haven't seen any invitation rounds take place. And until we have invitation rounds, we get a sense of how they're going to manage that system. We can't know for sure. But Rebecca, based on your knowledge of how Ontario has managed things in the past, as well as the information that's been released, who is likely to be competitive in this new stream?
Yeah, so that's the thing. We don't really know. Until we see draws, we're not going to know. It's easy to compare to like past draws and past ranking, but we've got to remember that it changed for a reason. One of the biggest shifts, I think, is the emphasis that Ontario now put on employment and labour market factors. They've really broken down that category, and it just really shows that they are who they're targeting. And so you can kind of look at the weight given to points to work out perhaps they're trying to target certain people. So if we look at now how they've broken down that employment and labour market section just independently from all the other sections, they give points for the tier category, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The highest points are available for tier 0 and 0, 1. They also now give people points for the broader occupational category, so category 3 gets the most points. Category 3 are healthcare workers. So we know if you're a healthcare worker, tier 0, 1, 0, 1, they're giving you more points. If I had to guess, I'd say they're likely going to target those individuals as well. They're also emphasizing hourly wages. So you get more points the more you earn. We're maxed out at $40 an hour. So you can kind of use how the points are awarded to guess how they're going to target people.
But it is always a guess.
So I would say
a guess.
It is always a guess.
Yeah.
I love guessing, but again, it's always a guess. And it's no secret that Ontario is really making it easier for healthcare workers right now as well. So I would say kind of looking at how the points are distributed can kind of give you an idea. But the whole idea behind this, and I don't know if they're going to continue this, but Ontario used to select people based on location and job type. And so if they carry on doing that, then obviously the number of points you get in the rank within your specific occupation will matter over and above kind of how they're categorized and the priority given within the points
Although
system.
an interesting feature of the new points grid for me is that they're kind of giving themselves the option where they may not have to conduct draws where they limit it by occupation or by region. Because they have so many different factors accounting for the score, like you said, the tier category, broad occupational category, they've introduced points for your earnings history in Canada and regionalization factors. So if your job offer is right in the heart of the city of Toronto, you're not getting any region, whereas if you get a job offer in the north of Ontario, a region that's hard to draw workers to, you're going to get 15 points, and that's out of 130. So a lot of that's built into the system. It's going to be interesting to see how much they just rely on the points as the sole guiding factor versus whether or not they bring in draws that are limited by region, by occupation, the things that you mentioned there, Rebecca. I just worked on a piece yesterday comparing Ontario and BC's PNP points grids, and it's fascinating to me. BC, when they're evaluating the value of the job offer, really the only factor that they look at is the wage of the position. And so it's interesting that Ontario has really divvied this up into so many different segments. It gives them a lot of different selection criteria over a province like British Columbia, though British Columbia limits the occupations who can apply outright. So they're kind of limiting things at the top of the funnel, whereas we might see Ontario do a similar thing, but at the bottom of that application funnel. Okay, Rebecca, so for candidates who are interested in applying to this stream, what can they do to prepare now?
So the first and foremost, you need to get a job offer. That's kind of like the number one question. Is, do you have a qualifying job offer? So that doesn't mean, are you currently working for a company in Ontario? So a lot of people think, well, I mean, yes, I have a job offer. I've been working. They offered me a job when I started working. That's not good enough. In order to have an Ontario application, it needs to have an active support from an employer. So they need to qualify as well. They have their own eligibility criteria that they need to satisfy. They need to submit forms on your behalf. So you need to get their buy-in. So that's the first and foremost. Do I have a qualifying permanent job offer? Do I qualify for the program? And and then let's have a look at how we rank, and how does that fall within my time frame. So if you only have kind of 3 months left on your work permit, chances are this is not a viable route right now.
Focus on
we don't
getting
know
that
when the
work
next
permit
invitation is
extended.
going to happen. Yeah, exactly. So like it really depends on your circumstances, and it's still really unknown. We don't know when they're going to do it. They could do invitations tomorrow. I doubt it, because they've probably not got a massive inventory right now, but there's so much unknown about this program, and what you do really depends on where you are in Canada. But again, without a job offer, this is a no-go. You can rule it off. Candidates outside of Canada that are interested in the Ontario Provincial Nominee Program, you're going to need the job offer. That's, again, a non-negotiable. So that's where your focus should be, or looking at alternative.
Well, and I want to jump in there and say it's not just the job offer that you're getting points for. It's also your history of working in Ontario, your earnings history, if you've done education, all of that. So it's really about getting to Canada first on a work permit and gaining some experience in Ontario. It's not just find a job offer from outside Canada. You're going to get more points and be more competitive if you can spend some time in Ontario working, getting those points on the EOI points grid.
And I do like that shift. I think that's a good shift from Ontario. Ontario's got a huge amount of foreign workers already in Canada, or international students already in Canada, in Ontario specifically. So I think that's a really positive step forward as well. And it kind of goes in line with the federal government's plan to transition more temporary residents to permanent residents. So
yeah. And
thumbs up. Not great news for outside of Canada applicants, but
we've been seeing this happen over the years. It's where it's going. The pathway that they are pointing people towards is come to Canada first as a temporary resident, gain your work experience, and then transition to permanent residence. It's not impossible to apply direct for permanent residence from outside Canada. I mean, it is with this stream, but more and more different provinces and at the federal level, they're making it clear they want that two-step process. So for candidates who are already working in Ontario, what are the first steps for those people to get started with this stream?
Yep. So the first thing you need to do is have your employer submit a job offer, and then you do your expression of interest, calculate what your ranking score is going to be, see any factors that you can improve that are within your control, like taking your language test, for instance. Try and do some kind of modeling. So what happens if I wait 6 months? If I can't get an invitation for 6 months, how does that impact my points? Do I go up? Do I go down? Things like that. Do my language test still remain valid? You can kind of look at past selections, but again, a bit cautious there because they changed for a reason. So I think that can only go so far. How Ontario's acted in the past can only kind of assist in informing your next actions so far.
Yeah.
But the best thing you can do is be informed, be reactive. So look out for changes, be ready, maximize your points, make sure that you're on top of your immigration status. Again, I think we're not going to see much movement for a month or two at least. So really be on top of your immigration status as it is. Yeah. And again, if you had a past expression of interest, you're going to have to resubmit it.
Great. And let's boil this down to its simplest takeaway for listeners. What should someone who's already working for an Ontario employer ask that employer this week?
I would send them the information about what is required from them, and ask for their buy-in.
Great. So, Rebecca, we're going to end things off here with a new segment that we've started introducing, your favorite segment. It's our 60-second consultant top tips. This is where I start a timer on my phone, start a timer for 60 seconds. We're going to count up, and Rebecca has 60 seconds to talk us through a topic of my choosing. Okay, Rebecca. This is Rebecca's 60-second consultant top tip on Ontario. Rebecca, if someone is living outside Canada and wants to move to Ontario, what are their best options? Your 60 seconds starts now.
So we've made it clear that job offer is essential. So the first and foremost is you're not going to qualify unless you've got a job offer, and chances are you're not going to rank well until you have work experience in Ontario. So if you are certain that Ontario is the place you want to be, first and foremost, focus on securing that job offer. You can also look at other programs like the Express Entry system. If you get Canadian permanent residence, you can live and work anywhere. But if you're solely focused in on the Ontario, the new Ontario program, then you're going to need to secure that job offer. There are some communities in the rural and francophone community immigration program that do have places
20
in
seconds.
Ontario, so you can look at them. Dane, this is not fun for me. So you can do that. But really, in any situation, you do need that qualifying job offer. So get your resume ready to Canadian standards. Work on your English language.
5.
That's really important.
3.
Reach out to your network and see what happens.
That's it. That's it.
Job offer.
Woohoo! Well done. 60 seconds on moving to Ontario. You love this segment. It's your favorite segment.
It's going to give me nightmares.
Yeah, well, you know, nothing better to give you nightmares than your day job. That's what I always say. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. The big takeaways for all you who want to move to Ontario, the new Ontario Workforce Priority Stream is now open. The first draw has not taken place yet, and that's going to tell us a lot of information about how Ontario is managing this program. For now, you need to have an Ontario job offer unless you're a self-employed physician. And the more experience, earnings history, everything you have in Ontario, the more competitive you're going to be in that EOI system. So right now, start by calculating your score, making sure you're eligible, and then just monitor for the invitation rounds to launch. So if you want more information about that, if you want somebody to design a unique immigration plan for you, you can book a consultation with Rebecca. Otherwise, stay tuned to our channel. We'll be posting all new updates to this program if and when they happen. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for putting up with my antics. It's been a pleasure, everybody. We will see you in a few days with our next immigration video. Thanks.
Bye.